Ah, zombie stock running some Apple numbers. Cool. All right, we're just gonna wrap this thing right around and do some orbitals. We'll do the white dwarf next to the sun here for zombie neutron star stuff. Given general redshift. Now, timelines, color, models, X-ray emissions, feedback, loop interference patterns. Somebody talking about crypto being, or metaverse being slow and blurry is not a new problem. And again, there's ways to GM that code right there to a radiant causal squared. I mean, program limits, frame rates, timetable, retaining wall. Yeah, have to put some stuff inside of there. Well, the question here is, do you sell one stock? Alright, well, I'm just factoring what the farm's telling me to do. She's biting a little bit there. I'll start hacking some of it off until she ain't on the slide about how leveraged I am, and then kind of wait for a couple of buy twos, hold long. That's the kind of wave function she runs, and why most of her likes Apple. It's a Fed play. In itself, it's left to who was ever in charge of Olive Garden, sure. And I mean, whatever. Been a couple CEO stuff, things that go down, drink Kool-Aid. But because they have so much gravitational base that people don't know when to buy in or sell off, and too many people are upside down on what it does, it makes it, plus the momentum of sucking everything else down as they print money to put it in to hold that flow instead of Apple dumping that down. But then you got to say to stockholders, well, your share, instead of me buying it to you, is like what I got to tell you from Apple dealing with the FMA quantum gravity is from the top to bottom here. Who owns the most in the timeline to actually say I got to give it all back today? FMA would say I'm going to have to start from the biggest. The cutout on this is you got to go take this. And if the CEO to buy real estate, Zillow, was on an energy of, well, certainly hopefully not Moderna right at the moment, but areas of probability, Great Lakes in New York, level and the curve stuff, uh, Boeing, right? As far as what kind of turbulence equation you would be using to idealize what the Planck is, or what the square rectangle coordinates, the polar coordinates are going to be here. So again, if you're into that, against it, hey, look, if you got an animal out there that just, it's like, some players play Castlevania, right? If Amazon stock was your color, then you could say it is Apple. They're congruent to two different shorts against who did we have? We had well, Ford, EV, and Tesla running some indexes on some 45s. They're stabling out after the 45 to the climb or down. All right, so that gives me some at least windows to seeing if it continues the momentum. Most of them go a day or two. I might peg. But Apple might run for 2 days. Somebody catches the news from here. It's not some arbitrary link of mentions, primes over the system. Do I believe that's in charge? I mean, you have to name it something. We want too many names of who many physicists you use make it real sloppy. They're not congruent or conserved by certain geometries inside of that layout. And so you get a lot of different hacks and glitches that come into why later on, you might find somebody that figures out punch outs, clock sequence to why 25, 48, 60, 62, 64, whatever it was that wave function to get a faster frame rate on some other model. And that's a lot of time and energy at that point in time. Make a Flovium. Which again gets us back to maybe not the equipment, YF over X photons, or however that's going to be broken down, because again, here to here or here, if you only had those quadrants, and what coming in is the EM heat light or noise, heat light sound, redshift. Interesting. The heat. It's a science experiment, right? It's a workout NP problem, I guess, if you like Carrot Top. Usually his numbers. It's hard when they're this close together, Joe, right? You wish you could just get one in there, right? get some of the Fauci team or one of the other ones from your case over here. You got JP in there, Elon, right? So you've seen those two, and you heard some things about this person or that person saying Elon's a security risk. Why? I'd like to know why. What's going on here? Very, very interesting. This is the one with the big gravity machine comes through and tells me that a ball on this end and ball on this end will spin slightly, deal with some of the curvature on a tight line. It'll be a slight. Put a pressure gauge against this big ass piece of metal right here inside of that and fancy it up with some whatever stuff that makes that work. And limits and figure it out. Dang. Look, seriously, you would no. Seriously. Hey, go and shoot her in the fucking car. What are they going to do to me?
Guilty. Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes found guilty on 4 out of 11 counts in her fraud trial after the jury deliberated for nearly 50 hours. Prosecutors saying Holmes knowingly lied about her blood testing technology. Quite frankly, from the very beginning. Joining me now, Marone Law Firm, LLC trial and criminal defense attorney, Joseph Marone. Joseph, Elizabeth Holmes, I could go on for days about this. She testified in her own defense.
Really,
I think she was on the stand for about 7 days. And the probability on the index isn't in yet anyways. Her poor little me Svengali defense, where she said that she was abused and
put it in the tree this time.
Bullied by Sunny Balwani, who was the chief operating officer and president of Theranos, but also her boyfriend at the time. Clearly, the jury did not buy it.
Financial economics.
No, that's clear. Listen, she was the CEO of this company. She led this company throughout its duration. For her to take the stand, she thought she was going to sell the jury the way she sold investors. And to say that
Elon took down the Air Force with that move right there, which was...
We knew that was not true. There was a lot of
trouble about the math that was about to pass down the pipes, rain and wrenches.
And the whole incident with Balwani, there was text messages going back and forth that totally contradicted her on cross-examination about really that they had a strong relationship, and that wasn't accurate. So her whole story that she could sell the jurors like she sold investors went down the tubes. But I don't think she had a choice.
Good blood sample test.
Why didn't she? Well, in part because the prosecutors used her own words against her. I know that they played tapes of interviews that she did.
There's not much room unless
you know, where you couldn't see her
skull and boned in.
I want to be Steve Jobs' black turtleneck. But you could hear, and I believe they played an audio recording of an investor call that was done in December of 2013, and on it she told again myriad lies to investors about the relationship of the company with pharmaceutical industry, pharmaceutical companies, relationships that had ended years prior. That they were working for the military, and that they were on medevac helicopters. Again, that was a complete and utter lie.
No.
And this goes to the counts on which she was found guilty. These were counts related to investor fraud,
which was the
not
biggest part of that.
Fraud.
Now, the testing itself, Huckabee Center been killed would be out. And then, like I said, sour bitters on the multivitamin, one a day, it would tear everything down. So, but pending something in after those contracts were done was a big no-no to adjust it because they were a yes to a no after the timeline. Goldman Sachs timber saw case passed through the pipes and it was upside down.
The jury's going to want to have to hear from her to acquit her. And the problem she had is there was overwhelming overwhelming evidence on cross-examination. Every time she told the story, they had a contradiction to undermine her, and the jury seemed through that clearly, and that's why she was found guilty.
Deciding you want to
erase some parts. So there are 4 guilty counts.